All right. Good morning and welcome back. I know I just was with you just a few minutes ago. Needed to go run and do just a couple of things. And once again, I'm going to give just a few moments for a few other people to get on here before we start back in. And so if you happen to be with me already, take your Bibles and go to John chapter 7. John chapter 7. And we're going to look at verses 37 through the end of the chapter, John chapter 7. Again, take a minute, grab a cup of coffee or water or tea or whatever it is you may drink. As a matter of fact, let me just, as a quick plug, uh, tonight's evening service, we actually talk about coffee and tea again. And don't do it now, wait for tonight. But we asked some questions of you about coffee and tea. Again, I'm just giving folks a few minutes to get on here, to join back in with us. John chapter 7 is where we're going to be. John chapter 7, verses 37 through 53. And while you're doing that, I don't have everything in front of me. I may be able to quickly pull it up here, kind of give you some of the announcements. Lord willing, I was the on multiple occasions the Claytons have now offered to allow us to use their farm for really any service that we have, and I was actually going to confirm some of that with them this morning, but obviously we're not there. But if everything works out fine, I was actually hoping and planning to have an evening service on the farm on September 13th and have the Lord's Supper on that evening. It actually worked really well with the very ending of Esther chapter 10. And so just give you a quick financial update. August month to date is $16,100.55. Our usual budget is $12,867. So we're doing good there. A lot of that, again, comes from some people giving to the building fund. We are planning a family night on Wednesday again on Zoom at 7 p.m. We'll do that for probably at least 2 more weeks. I know initially I'd said at least through the month of August, but possibly now through the 2 more weeks. For those of you that are on YouTube, the Claytons, who probably just now found out about Sunday evening service on the 13th, they are fine with that. They let me know. Thank you, guys. I was going to speak to you about it this morning. We'd like to do that, all things considered, if we're able to. And then lastly, I had sent out a couple of emails over the past couple of weeks, and we've been trying to plan a men's prayer retreat just about at the Hearts place in Nehalem. We are limiting that to 10 people. And so if you are a man and you're interested in doing that, we would leave Friday after work and would return Saturday in the afternoon or early evening. And so obviously there's some things up in the air right now, but I at least wanted to communicate some of those things to you as possibilities so that you could plan, and wanted to make you aware of that. No cost there. Most of everything will be taken care of, but wanted to put that out there. Again, just giving folks a few minutes to get in here with us this morning. Take your Bibles and go to John chapter 7. John chapter 7 is where we are. If you're now tuning in and you're wondering why we're meeting online, there was a video that we posted not too long ago, about 10 minutes ago, that you can go back into our YouTube or Facebook channels and you can see that, and I'll give you some more information on that if you're just now getting in. John chapter 7 is where we are, and I'm just, obviously we're not doing any singing or anything this morning since I'm doing this from my office here at home. But John chapter 7 is where we are, and we began looking last week at John chapter 7, and they were attending a week-long celebration that was known as the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles. You can read about it in Leviticus chapter 22. It was the most popular, most celebrated festival that they had there. And I mean, people just loved it. They loved it. They enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Also in John chapter 7, as we began to look at it, we began to see this mounting opposition to the life and the ministry of Jesus. As a matter of fact, they wanted to silence him and they wanted to kill him. Look in verse 32 of John chapter 7. It says, the Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. They wanted to arrest him. They wanted to be done with him and quiet him. Now, verse 37, we're going to look at verses 37 through 53. Verse 37 is the beginning of our text for this morning, and this is what it says. It says, "In the last day, the great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried, saying, 'If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink.'" Now, the Bible clearly tells us that this was the last day. This was the great day of the feast. This was the most exciting day. This was the day they really looked forward to. This is where there was a major feast and a major celebration, and everybody jumped in. It was the largest part of the celebration. One of the things, and this is what I was going to illustrate to you this morning if we were in person, one of the things that takes place during the Feast of Tabernacle was a water ceremony. There's a water ceremony that is observed to commemorate the time when God provided water for Israel during their wilderness wanderings. And what would happen is each day a priest would go to the pool of Siloam on the southern end of town, and they would take some water out of the pool of Siloam, and then they would have a processional walking from the pool of Siloam with that water back to the temple. Now, while that procession was happening, there were all sorts of things that were going on. It was a huge event. Everyone was involved in this procession. There was music that was playing. There were verses that were being recited. As a matter of fact, they would recite Isaiah chapter 12 and verse 3 that says this. It says, "Therefore with joy shall ye draw water out of the wells of salvation." There would be some major singing that was going on. They would sing the song that is known as the Hallel. Now, primarily the Hallel is Psalm 113 through 118. I'm not going to read all that this morning, but primarily Psalm 118 is what they would sing. And you can go back on your own time and read those things. But this was what was going on here. There was this major water celebration. They would take the water ceremony. They would take the water from the pool of Siloam. They would have this procession go back to the temple. There was a temple that was built there. The water was given to the high priest. The high priest would march around the temple, around the altar 7 times, just like the children of Israel did around Jericho, and it commemorated that. They would march around it 7 times, and then the high priest would take the water and he would pour it